Let's show you how they did it defensively against Penn State. This is a battle of top 20 teams for the 6th straight time, longest streak in the Big Ten since Michigan and Ohio State in the 1970s. You had C.J. Stroud against Sean Clifford, and Clifford intercepted by J.T. Tuimoloau. Picking the pass off there. We would hear more from him later in the game. Mayan Williams plowing his way in to make it 10-0 Ohio State. Late in the first quarter, it's Williams knocked out of bounds, would be injured on the play, left the game with a right hand and right knee injury, did not return. Early second quarter, Clifford finding Parker Washington, and he's gone, Howard.
He continues to make huge plays. They have an opportunity to tackle him. He breaks out of it, great balance, and is able to finish it for the touchdown.
He was fabulous. How about 11 catches for 179 yards?
Facts.
Penn State down 10-7. It's Clifford, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Penn State taking the lead as Clifford ties Trace McSorley on the all-time touchdowns list. Time winding down in the half. Ohio State decides not to kick the field goal. They go for it, and Penn State able to turn them away. So it was the Nittany Lions by 1 at the half. Early fourth quarter, Penn State down 2. They lined up for a second try at a field goal after a false start penalty. They miss again, but an illegal formation on Ohio State gives them yet another chance, and Katron Allen cashes in. So it's 21-16 in favor of the Nittany Lions. But back come the Buckeyes. 3 plays, 75 yards. Travion Henderson, 23-21 Ohio State. Just like that. And then it is Tuimoloau. I mean, he was all over the field. What a great play there on the strip and the recovery. Ohio State takes over. And on the very next play, it is Stroud. It's Cade Stover. And it's a 30-21 Buckeyes lead. Now late in the fourth, on top 30-24. Travion Henderson again, 7 yards there. And the Buckeyes with the comfortable 13-point lead. And how else are you going to finish it off? But I mean, holy cow. Even LeBron James impressed by JTT as Ohio State wins its 6th straight over the Nittany Lions, 10th in their last 11 meetings. Here's Jenny Taft with the winners.
Before this one, you acknowledged it, how challenging this atmosphere is, this environment, but it was the fourth quarter for you guys. So what went into the way you finished it?
You know, for whatever it is, when we play Penn State, it's been that way. And we talked about how you have to withstand the surge early. It's, you know, we all wish we could have, you know, done some things early on better on offense. Defense played well, created some turnovers, and then we just talked about getting the game to the fourth quarter and winning. And really proud of the way the guys played in the fourth quarter, the way they just played really hard, finished out the game. So it's a great win, and I thought our guys hung tough. Quickly,
Coach, J.T. Tuimoloau did about everything he could, a force to be reckoned with. How proud are you?
Well, he really stepped up, and you're seeing what he's capable of now, and great to see. That's a coming out party for him. Well-deserved, happy for him, and you know, he's been working really hard at this, and so great to see all his hard work pay off.
J.T. Tuimoloau was a force to be reckoned with, and I need to make sure I get this all right. You deflected a pass that led to an interception. You had an interception. You had a sack. You had a strip sack. You had a pick six. J.T., what went into your performance today? Did I hit it all there?
Yeah, I mean, just trusting God. You know, yeah, it was all him today. I mean, in my team, we played great team win, and yeah, on to the next one.
I remember you telling us a couple weeks ago that, you know, the numbers, the stats weren't there yet, but you knew it could come. What has gone into your evolution and really this defense as a whole?
Just trusting coaches, trusting your brothers. I mean, there's 11 of us out there, and you know, when one person eats, we all eat. And so I just let it come to me, and just trusting everybody.
I thought we played our tail off. Obviously, first half, we were able to overcome the turnovers and stay in the game and battle, but you can't turn the ball over that many times against that type of opponent and think you're going to be successful. Something we, for the most part, we have done a good job of this year, but we did not today. We knew this type of opponent we were going to have to be able to score points on. They're explosive on the offensive side of the ball. They're explosive on the defensive side of the ball. Played our tail off, but made too many critical mistakes.
11th straight loss against top 10 teams for the Nittany Lions. And as James Franklin mentioned, the turnovers were the story. They were -4 in this game. They came in +7, which was the best in the Big Ten. And JT Tuimoloau, holy cow. I mean, he had a hand in essentially all of them.
Yeah, I mean, the question was, when was his production going to show up on the stat sheet? Because he's played really well in spurts this year. This was the game that it did. We got a little tape here to show you some of those big plays again, because this man, without him, Ohio State would not have been able to pull off the victory. So first thing you're going to see, we got him highlighted right there. He's going to get his hands up, what a really good pass rusher does. Tips the ball to his teammate Zach Harrison, get an interception. Then you're going to see him drop into coverage right here. He's got his guy who has his hand in the dirt, but he's a good athlete, gets the interception. Then he's going to manhandle the offensive tackle, walk him back in, get a little 2-for-1. Strip sack goes down as 2 stats in the stat book. And then finally, the best play of the day. Watch how he gets his hands down first and then gets his hands up to get the interception, finishes in the end zone. You can make an argument that without that performance today, Ohio State does not win this football game. He was pivotal in their success.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he was special. You know, Ryan Day called this a great win, and it was a great win for a lot of reasons. One, I think they won it in the fourth quarter. That's great when a team like Ohio State is pushed to the edge and they have to win it. It was a great win because of the defensive turnovers. It was a great win because at halftime they made a decision that the perimeter pass game was being covered by Penn State, and they went to some middle of the field passes and some adjustments. Things I think they're going to want to improve on, too many big plays in the pass game against the defense, although they got a bunch of turnovers. And I still think the offensive line can play better, keep CJ cleaner, and run the ball when they have to run the ball a little bit better.
Well, they struggled against running the ball, quite frankly, under 100 yards rushing today. I think it was 98. And they were outrushed by Penn State, who rushed for 111. But I think one of the things that ultimately happens in this, you just continue to see Ohio State win games different ways. And teams are getting up to play them, and they're having to find ways. But when they can create 4 turnovers and get 21 points out of that, that was significant. So the defense had a huge part of what this team was able to do today.
I still don't know how to feel about this run game. Like, obviously, it's not up to par right now, and they need to get better. But I think the big difference between Ohio State this year and what they were a year ago is when the run game didn't work, they would completely abandon it. But you saw late in that game, there were 2 big touchdown runs. I think that's important. So they need to get the production. I'm 100% on board with that. But the fact that they don't completely scrap the run game when it's not working the way that they want to, I think shows a commitment to at least going back to it.
As important, I agree with both you and Howard said, as important, I think the offensive line has to do a better job in pass protection.
Yep.
That play a week ago that was a strip sack and a score by Iowa, that was a 2-man twist on the left side of their offensive line, 4-man rush. They ought to be able to pick stuff like that up, and they've got to get better at that.
Totally agree.
As far as the run game's concerned, second straight week under 100 rushing yards. Quick thoughts from each of you on Penn State.
Penn State, I thought there was a gap that was there because of the way they played against Michigan a couple weeks ago. But this is a good Penn State team still. I mean, the turnovers were the difference in this game. I thought you saw the team speed that they had when Ohio State tried to put things out on the perimeter. Penn State was having none of that. They needed to bow up inside as far as the defensive line was concerned. They did that today, but the turnovers were the issue.
Yeah, I would say this. I would say Penn State is a good team. Today was more of an indication of what kind of team they are as opposed to how they played against Michigan.
And we keep going back to it, but I think that this Penn State roster was comprised to compete with a team like Ohio State more than a team like Michigan. But the biggest thing that stands out, Howard, is what you said. Those guys in the back end for Penn State out on the edges played physical. That was a physical brand of football. They were trying to match up tight ends and blocking some of those defensive backs. They couldn't block them. Those guys are playing really hard out there.
And again, we're winning the game in the fourth quarter. Just seems to follow that familiar script for them against the Buckeyes, where Ohio State just kind of takes over down the stretch, and that was certainly the case in this one. Built for Success, brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. And how about these numbers from Ohio State as they hit the 44-point mark for the 7th straight game. They're the first Big Ten team to do that since Michigan back in 01-02. And yes, fellas, we're talking 1901-02. Thank you, Howard. Yeah. Been a while.
Coach hasn't caught on yet.
No,
he'll get it.
It wasn't 18.
I mean, he saw those games. I don't know. He didn't catch on.
Michigan State and Michigan. J.J. McCarthy getting ready. Spartans, of course, had won the last 2 in this series. Mel Tucker 2-0 against the Wolverines. First quarter on a 4th and 1. Elijah Collins, it's the handoff. Looks like he's short, but the officials give him the first down. Then on the replay, they rule him short of the marker, and Mel Tucker not pleased. Ensuing Michigan drive, it is J.J. McCarthy to Donovan Edwards. Such a weapon out of the backfield.
He makes things happen when he catches the ball out the backfield.
Now, Michigan unable to punch it in from there would lead to a Jake Moody field goal. That would be kind of a theme in this game in the red zone for the Wolverines. Peyton Thorne, Keon Coleman, a huge game, 5 receptions, career high 155 yards. Spartans on top 7-3. McCarthy for Luke Schoonmaker throwing on the run there. And the Wolverines on the move later in the drive on a 3rd and goal. It is Blake Corum taking it in for the touchdown. 33 carries, 177 yards for him. He was outstanding. Ensuing Michigan State drive on a 4th and 1. 4th down plays just did not go their way, Joshua.
No, they didn't. And this is a tough situation for Michigan State. Got to find a way to make the big play.
To the 4th quarter now, it's 22-7, and Michigan State's had some long snapper issues and comes back to bite them there, Howard.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. It looks like it can be executed very easily, but it's one of the tougher plays in all of football.
Trying to make a point there, huh?
I just did.
A couple plays later, it is Corum. 5th straight 100-yard rushing game for him. Wolverines on top 29-7. And then Peyton Thorne intercepted right there by Rod Moore. Was a really poor second half for Michigan State offensively as they lose for the 5th straight time on the road, their longest skid in 40 years. Michigan able to celebrate with Paul Bunyan, 29-7, a win for the Wolverines. Afterwards, Danny Rogers caught up with J.J. McCarthy.
JJ, this offense found the end zone in the 2nd and 4th quarter, so touchdowns were a little harder to come by. How did you keep your team in this one to stay on task to be in it in the end?
I mean, we just got to stay in the present moment. Things weren't going our way in the first half, and especially in the red zone. We got to get so much better at that. It's back-to-back weeks where we need to finish, and it's just going to make us better at the end of the day, but just staying in the present moment helped us a lot.
A few times you had to scramble, get out of the pocket, 50 yards on the ground from you. What kind of respect do you earn from your teammates when you put your feet to the ground and make plays like that?
For sure. I mean, God's given me the ability to run and use my legs, so using it has just been a tool to our offense, and I've been recently just not using it as much, and this game was huge to do that.
Your defense held Michigan State's offense to under 40 yards rushing. What did that open up for the rest of the team to do tonight?
I mean, that defense is one of the best in the country. I go against them every single day in practice, and they're just nonstop elite. So what they did tonight was special, and I can't wait to see what they do in the following weeks.
Coach Harbaugh says a game like this can make or break a season. It made it still. How are you guys on task to still make your season what you want it to be?
For sure. I mean, it's just the next play, the next practice, the next game. It's always the next, and just continuing to get better and better. Bringing Paul back is great, but we got to keep focusing on getting better and hitting our stride.
Jerry, this kind of felt like a line of scrimmage mismatch as we talked about it during the week, and it did play out that way.
It played out that way, and it also played out that Michigan was going to get Michigan State's best shot, right? I mean, this is the best, most intense game that Michigan State played all year. So it was a tough win for Michigan, and they needed that just like Ohio State needed a tough win. The most interesting thing to me is as well as they run the ball, as good a running quarterback they have, and I know you guys know this because we've talked about it, when they get in the red zone, that should be the perfect offense to have a high percentage of touchdowns over field goals. JJ just mentioned it. They came out with too many field goals, not enough touchdowns, and it'll be a point of emphasis from this point on to the rest of the season.
And it probably has been up to this point since they had the issues last week, but when you think about them possessing the ball for over 40 minutes, right, that's impressive. Michigan State really never had a chance. Michigan State was 2 of 11 on 3rd down. You got to be able to stay on the field. It's another one of those situations where you have to be able to give your defense an opportunity to get some rest as an offense and be able to keep the ball and convert on some of these 3rd downs, but they have not been able to do that as of late.
Without JJ passing the ball on the run, those field goals instead of touchdowns would have hurt him. I mean, he kept a lot of drives going throwing the ball, but on the run.
He did. And in the red zone, I think their offense changes like most offenses do, but I really think they need to find an identity of who they truly want to be in the red zone. The other question I have about this offense, can they really stretch the football down the field, throwing it vertically, long of 29 for J.J. McCarthy? That's going to need to change a little bit. But one thing that stands out to me about this staff, and you've got new coordinators, and it's a difficult thing to do for veteran coordinators. The second half adjustments that they make are always on point. That defense played phenomenally in the second half. The offense was able to hit some more plays, get into the end zone, and I think that's a really important thing for them to be able to do the rest of the season.
Held Michigan State well under 100 yards in the second half of this game, so it really neutralized them. The red zone is going to be a story, no doubt. 5 red zone possessions, 3 of them ending in field goals, Howard.
I really wonder how the unique situation that they have with the offensive coordinators, how that plays out when you get into a more condensed area such as the red zone. Normally guys have a feel for what they want to call. So I'm wondering if that may be something they're still having to work through in that part of the field.
Well, I mean, 3 voices in reality, too, because you got the head coach and the co-coordinator. So I think that's probably a part of the paradigm there.
Still perfect, though, for the Wolverines. 8-0, first time in 6 years that they have started 8-0. They will head to Rutgers next week. We do want to share there was a very ugly incident, unfortunately, in the post game. This is video from Matt Charbonneau of the Detroit News. There's a Michigan player in amongst the Spartans there. You see some blows exchanged. Really hate to see that. Illinois and Nebraska. Memorial Stadium in Lincoln sold out for the 387th straight time. How about Alex Palczewski? New Big Ten record with 60 career starts.
It's a lot of starts.
It is a lot of starts. Picking up in the first quarter, Tommy DeVito, Isaiah Williams showing off the wheels, Howard.
Isaiah's doing a nice job. One of the things he does so well is the short catch turning into a long run.
DeVito was 20 of 22 in this game. Second quarter, Nebraska down 6-3. Casey Thompson, Travis Vokalek.
Big fella.
Man.
On the loop.
Pick him up, put him down.
56-yard touchdown. The Illini blocked the extra point, so Nebraska on top 9-6. Now, tough moment here for the Huskers. Really a game-changing moment as Casey Thompson hit there. The ball wobbles in the air. Sidney Brown picking it off for the Fighting Illini, bringing it back all the way down inside the 15-yard line. But Thompson injured on the play as he's hit by Seth Coleman, would leave the game with a hand injury. He did not return. That turnover set up Illinois in the red zone, and it's the brother act, Chase Brown. School record 9th straight 100-yard rushing game for him. He was fabulous again, 149 yards as Illinois retakes the lead at 13-9. And then it's DeVito to Chase again, 20-9. Illini at the break. Nebraska trying to get back into it, but Chubba Purdue came in at quarterback. This is ill-advised, Josh.
Yeah, this is something that they put in the manual as you're rolling out. You don't typically want to throw it back across your body. It's a tough play for a quarterback who hasn't had a lot of experience.
Brett Bielema's team just keeps on winning, now 7-1. Here's Brooke Fletcher with the winners.
Coach, Nebraska brought the pressure for a majority of the first half, but how were you guys able to just to pull this one out here today?
You know, it wasn't pretty. At first, to give a lot of credit to Nebraska, a difficult situation. They've been playing lights out. I thought they were opportunistic. We did a couple things in the first half, just shot ourselves in the foot, but I knew if we persevered, we'd be able to pull this one out.
Tommy, a very efficient day for you. How would you just describe the confidence level you were playing at here today?
Really high. I mean, the offense makes it easy for me. The O-line did a great job. Running game got going. Receivers made plays when it was there, and the defense played how they always play.
Well, we got to show some love to Chase Brown. 9 consecutive games with over 100 yards. What has his presence meant to this offense?
That's something special. You know, Chase is as good as a back as I've ever seen. You know, the O-line, that's a testament to them as well. Moving bodies, being able to give him the lanes that he gets to do what he needs to do.
Sidney, great efforts on both sides of the ball, but the defense, you guys were huge here today. 2 picks for yourself. What was working so well on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, it started off a little slow, but we got it back together in the second half. But, I mean, that's just the type of defense we play. It's a line-eye defense. We play fast. We get to the ball. We get to the quarterback. So at the end of the day, we just played hard and brought it together in the second quarter.
You guys are sitting at the top of the Big Ten West. What would it mean for you guys to make it to the Big Ten championship?
Well, the job's not done. There's still so much season left, so I mean, it'd mean the world. It'd be a huge opportunity for us and the team, but we're just focused on beating Michigan State.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That is who is next for the Illini, but you see 4-1, still firmly in control of their own destiny in the Big Ten West. They do still host Purdue, remember, coming up in a couple weeks. They do have to go to Michigan as well, but beat the Boilermakers, and they would be in great shape to make it to the Big Ten championship game. They do it again with this outstanding defense, forcing 4 turnovers, now 20 on the year, Joshua, leading the Big Ten. But this is a really balanced team. I mean, DeVito was fabulous. Brown again, just do so many things well.
It's a very complete team. I mean, the offense has been sensational this year, but the story for me is this Illinois defense. And you mentioned all the stats about how they take the football away, how they bow up. I mentioned the second half adjustments for Michigan. This team might be better in terms of second half adjustments, especially on defense. Only 29 yards allowed in the second half to Nebraska. It is a staggering number, and those players have been well developed. They're assignment sound. They go out there and they play hard every Saturday.
Yeah, there's a mental part to this game, too, that I think Brett Bielema really gets, right? I mean, I felt all week, the week off, being ranked 17th, that can mess with a player's head, being told how good you are. And Brett told us early this morning what his mental game plan was. We lost to Indiana. They beat Indiana. Since Mickey's taken over, it's a different team. So he obviously was in tune to that. The balance on offense and still to possess the ball for almost 40 minutes, I think 38 minutes. But this is one of the places that he has changed since his Wisconsin days. He's throwing it more balanced, but still the rushing game and time of possession is still important to him.
Yeah, I go back to one of my comments earlier this morning. I said that Trey Palmer was going to be open, right? He had 6 targets, 1 catch. But I said the challenge would be the pressure that front seven would be able to put on the quarterback. And that's exactly what they were able to do. And you talk about those adjustments. I think they cannot be understated that when you can take away a team's best weapons and really force them to play their offhand, that really speaks volumes to what those players are doing with the adjustments that need to be made, because they're not seeing necessarily the same play every series. They're seeing some new stuff, but they're quickly making those adjustments.
They've allowed 71 points in 8 games.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is absolutely crazy. Less than 9 points a game for the Fighting Illini. Now, 6 straight opponents held to 14 points or fewer. That is the longest streak since 1989, when a fella named Howard Griffith was strutting around campus.
Wow. That was a long time ago. I had hair, too.
Yeah. Obviously, quite a while ago.
I'd like to see him strut around a conference table.
He's a heck of a strutter. Rutgers and Minnesota. Gavin Wimsatt getting the start at quarterback for the Scarlet Knights, going up against Tanner Morgan back after missing last week. He had started 45 consecutive games prior to that. Here's Morgan on a 3rd and 8, picking up 15. So Minnesota into Rutgers territory. Same drive, Mo Ibrahim, record breaker, 44th career touchdown. That is the most in Minnesota history, passing Darrell Thompson, of course, their radio color man, a fabulous back in his own right. That was a 19-play, 99-yard drive for Minnesota. There's Morgan to Bryce Williams for 11 yards, another 3rd down that they pick up. They were 13 of 19 on 3rd down in this game. Minnesota inside the 5. It is Mo again. That was a 13-play, 86-yard drive. They possess the ball for more than 41 minutes in this one. Mo goes over 100 for the 16th straight time. Ties him with Kadeem Carey for the longest streak in college football this century. Passes Ezekiel Elliott for the longest in the Big Ten. Tyler Nubin, the interception there against Wimsatt. Rutgers 3 turnovers in the game. And here goes Mo again, Howard.
Yeah, it really does a tremendous job. And I tell you what, when he comes off the injury, he's come off of that, and he really looks quicker than me, particularly in the hole. Just continues to make plays and be in the heartbeat of this offense.
Achilles injury last year, pretty remarkable how he has come back. Now Noah Vedral into the game, and he is picked off as well by Nubin. Bryce Williams would bring it in for a touchdown a play later as Minnesota gets its first conference shutout since 2004, a 31-0 win. Here's Rick Pizzo.
PJ, the handshake with Greg Schiano embracing Joe Harris-Simiak. Obviously, a lot of water under the bridge between a lot of folks on these sidelines. What's an outcome like this feel like for you to be the guy who you called one of the biggest influences in your life?
Well, he's a father figure to me. A lot of us wouldn't have jobs on this sideline over here without that man and that program. So it means a lot to me. Most of my staff is from the Northeast in that area. There's a lot of respect and relationship there, 100%. Somebody's got to win the game, somebody's got to lose the game, but the respect is incredible. So come on, just congratulations. His team played really hard. And congratulate our team. They played really hard too.
And congratulations to Mo Ibrahim, becomes the all-time touchdown leader at Minnesota. How do you encapsulate what he is as a player, a person, the face of your program?
This is what football is all about, right? He's an emotional leader, he's a spiritual leader, he's an authentic leader. And when we don't have him in the football game, those are what special players do. When we don't have him in the game, we're not as good. We're just not. And when he's in there doing what he's doing, and the line's moving people like that, defense is playing that way, that's more our style.
Mo, I know you've never been a big stats guy, a guy who's about records for yourself, but this is pretty cool as you get congratulations to the all-time touchdown leader at Minnesota. What does that mean to you?
It means the world to me. I looked up to those guys growing up, the Marion Barbers, DT, those guys. Those guys set a foundation of what a running back's supposed to look like at Minnesota, and I'm just happy to keep the legacy and pass it on.
How much do you embrace and enjoy a game like this where you know based on the DNA of these teams you are going to be relied on and called upon over and over again?
I look forward to it. I look forward to helping my team out in any way possible. Going to this game, I knew I was going to get a lot of carries, so I just had to do my job, keep the energy going high with the offense, and play by play, don't look for the big one, just take what they give us.
Howard, just complete and utter dominance in this game by Minnesota, and this was a familiar formula. I mean, this was what we saw from Minnesota at the beginning of the year. They dominated time of possession. They dominated in the run stat. Third down conversions on both sides was just overwhelmingly in their favor. They kind of got back to who they were at the beginning of the year.
They really did. And ultimately, I think a lot of the praise needs to go to the guys up front, the offensive line, that were able to really establish themselves early. Because to me, that's been one of the things that has been holding this team back when they've been on this slide. I don't think they've gotten the offensive line play that they have had in previous games, probably because of the opponents that they were playing, but they got back to it today.
Yeah, you talk about getting back to it and the opponents. On the Rutgers side, I was surprised Rutgers didn't have more success defensively, stopping Minnesota doing exactly what they wanted to do, because that's exactly what Minnesota did. And the other thing about Rutgers is way too soon to make a decision about Wimsatt. I mean, he's got a tremendous amount of potential, but he needs game reps. And even if he stays this year and they bring someone else in maybe to start and bring him along, he's got a lot of talent.
He's a young quarterback who needs to develop. I think he's got a bright future. Going back to Minnesota, it was the game plan that they always want to execute. Ran the ball well. They dominated time of possession. They were really efficient on first down, averaging almost 5 yards on first downs. And then they played really good defense. I mean, you keep a team off the scoreboard, that's a great day. So this is a Minnesota game plan. If they can execute it this way every week, they're likely going to win the game.
Gave up 134 yards, which is the fewest they've allowed in a Big Ten game this century. And we were talking about Rutgers' defense in the lead up to this, guys, and how good they were against the run. They were giving up 87 rushing yards per game. Minnesota goes for 253 in this one. So, again, just a completely dominant effort by the Gophers to get them to 5 wins on the season. Iowa and Northwestern, Halloween celebration, and there was lots to celebrate for the Hawkeyes. Up 3-0 on a 3rd and 3. Spencer Petras, Monty Potabom gets the first down as they convert on the 3rd down, and on a 3rd and goal, it is Petras taking it in, puts Iowa on top 10-0. Now 13-0, it is Petras to Luke Lachey.
Luke Lachey, really good tight end. Iowa's got a couple of them. They need to find ways to get these guys open.
20-0 just before the half. Brendan Sullivan there to Duke Olgis gets Northwestern on the board to make it 20-7. The story of this game, well, there were lots of stories of this game, but Iowa's defense was fabulous. That is their 6th sack of the day, and then they get their 7th sack of the day against a team that had given up 8 all year coming in. Remember, this is an Iowa team that had scored 30 points in its previous 3 games combined, they were averaging 14 points per game. They were last in the nation in total offense. You wouldn't have known it from today. Arlen Bruce with the touchdown, 33-13. Iowa a winner. Here's Kirk Ferentz.
No question, this was our best, offensive performance, and just when you can play it balanced and it starts up front. I think we certainly blocked better today, more productively that way, both run and pass, and gave Spencer some protection where he could set his feet a little bit and work through his progression. So a lot of good things there, and then if we can run and pass, obviously we're a better football team doing that as well. So it was just it was good to see that. We've done some good things along the way, but this was, by far the best collective effort we've had.
I would say that is an understatement. They had 7 offensive touchdowns in 7 games coming in. They got 3 today.
I mean, and Kirk Ferentz said it all. The playbook was wide open for Iowa. They could run the football. They could throw the football. And from the Northwestern perspective on this one, this was the opportunity defensively to try to get right. They absolutely did not. Gave up almost 400 yards to an Iowa offense that struggled all year.
Right, but it's really not a surprise. They're playing a struggling Northwestern, and before the Ohio State debacle, they lost to Michigan by 13 and Illinois, who we're all bragging about, by 3 points. So it was just the matchup that they had today. I don't think they did much different than they've been doing.
Yeah, they needed this from an offensive standpoint, particularly, to start to build some confidence. It'll be interesting if they can continue to build on this as an offense.
Season highs for points and yards for Iowa in the game. Northwestern, meanwhile, will miss a bowl game for just the 6th time in Pat Fitzgerald's 17 seasons, but the 3rd time in the last 4. They are in their worst stretch of football in the last 32 years, 13 losses in their last 14 games.